So, guys, it's great to see you. Especially, we've actually known of you guys for a while now, as I'm sure,
Yes,
because before you were dads, you were
that's
guncles.
Yeah.
right.
It's really enjoyed the story back then. So, why don't you introduce yourselves? Maybe give folks the basics of your background, um, where you live, how long you've been together, your path to parenthood.
um, I'm Vince.
I'm Mike.
We've been together 13 years. We've been married going 4 years this month.
Oh,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you.
Thank you.
Um, we've been wanting to, we both were very family oriented, so we know we wanted our own family. Uh, Initially, we're open to all sorts of ways to how same-sex couple would have their own family,
Fostering,
fostering,
adoption.
adoption, surrogacy. But we wanted to try surrogacy first and see if we have any luck with it, and then we just go to the other forms of having a family if
Yeah.
it didn't pan out.
We
Luckily,
we knew at some point we would have a family that we would, we just
yeah,
didn't know what route that would be.
Yep, that makes sense. And I think that's the path that a lot of folks take, actually. So I want to interject for a shout out because you worked with two of our preferred family building partners that we work closely with through GWK Academy, right? Fertility Specialists of Texas
yes.
and Simple. So,
Yep.
how did you guys come to find these guys?
So initially, when we were researching, it was very overwhelming because there's not a whole lot of resources out there. There's not a whole lot of literature on how a same-sex couple would tackle surrogacy or gestational surrogacy. Not only that, there's a lot of things that we had to like learn. We were not aware of what a traditional surrogacy was versus gestational surrogacy.
Certain state laws, certain legislation that could affect if we did surrogacy in one state versus a different state. A lot of information that we
So,
took in.
yeah, with the help of Gays with Kids, Men Having Babies, there was like lists of preferred surrogacy agencies and um, fertility clinics that were listed. So we kind of just our thought process was, since we live in Houston, we live in Texas, we want to kind of make it like closer to us.
Mhm.
Sure.
So Fertility Specialists of Texas is based in Frisco, Dallas area, same as Simple Surrogacy. Our idea behind it is if our surrogate is closer, we'll be able to be um,
More available for appointments,
accessible. Yeah.
meetings. We wanted to be as involved as possible through the whole process, respecting the surrogates' relationship that they desired, but we wanted to be as hands-on
Yeah.
as we could.
And so, for those folks who are watching, during her first 3 months of pregnancy, she actually sees the IVF doctor, and then after that, she transitions over to her OBGYN. And since you guys live close to both the clinic and her, you were able to get
Yes.
involved in as many of those.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's great, and it's an important consideration for a lot of people getting started on the surrogacy journey. My husband and I created our family through adoption and surrogacy, and our surrogate lived far, far away from us. It was like a 2 hour plane ride and a 3 hour drive.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah,
it's
and I think
down.
one of the time when we were researching, that was in 2020.
It was during COVID,
It was
yeah.
during COVID, so we had that mentality of we knew that a lot of couples were having trouble like getting to see their surrogates during that time. So that's one of the things that kind of made us pick like something closer to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And but unfortunately for you, the timing didn't work right because we launched GWK Academy towards the end of COVID. So
Yes, yes. Yeah, I remember that because I remember when you guys launched it, we were like, "Oh,
Oh,
we're
this is
already
amazing. Yeah.
this is
yeah,
amazing. It
oh,
would have been great."
a day late and
But
a dollar short, as my mom would say.
but regardless, GWK, you guys have been very inspirational for us since the beginning because you guys would post success stories or like information that kind of helped us piece together the stuff that we would need from the get-go.
And kind of on top of the success stories, seeing the other side of everything too, not everything painted through this beautiful picture, like seeing that there are ups and downs, because when you do go through a down part, you don't want to feel like you're alone going through it. So you are allowing this full spectrum of what the journey could and is.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Mike, because that's actually a very important part, I think, of our job is to, most people going through a surrogacy journey will not have any challenges, but you don't know. And it has nothing, when you're using like the best family building partners, and you guys certainly did, stuff can still go wrong, right? And so I would love it if you'd share. One of the reasons just one of the many reasons that we're excited to have you guys is so that you could perhaps share what you have to go through as well. Then any advice on how do you get over it and through it mentally and prepare for it and get back.
I mean, we didn't have as smooth as one would think, but we're still pretty lucky. We're still
very fortunate. Yeah,
fortunate because we started our journey 2021.
2021 we started the actual like reaching out to agencies and things like that.
And then we were able to match pretty quick we had a first surrogate. Everything looked great. Passed the screening, passed medical screening. And then during the height of laws changing in terms of abortion in Texas, there was some debate whether termination and reduction
would be
considered abortion. So there was a lot of inconsistent.
It was still very fresh, especially around that time, right before our first surrogate did any transfers or preparation for the transfer.
So there was a lot of like fear-based conversations during that time. On top of she's having also some personal issues. So when she backed out, we were devastated.
So she backed out. How far along had you been?
We had just gotten through legal, or we were finishing legal. So
we were in the middle of legal.
Nothing super clinical.
But she passed her medical screening. We did her the psych eval, all that stuff. So we've probably 6 months into it.
I would say 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
6 months into it. So
there's a good chunk into it. Yeah.
So not only that it was time, but it also cost a little bit of money.
Yeah.
That because as most people know already, surrogacy is not cheap.
Yeah. We still, I mean, we're fortunate that if things were going to, we respect her decision, and we know that
we're glad that it happened.
It worked out the way it was supposed to. Yeah, and the amount that we spent for like medical screening and psych evaluation and kind of transportation back and forth to clinics for them, kind of is, even though it was a chunk of money in the big picture, like it was worth finding the new surrogate that we had.
Because you wouldn't want to go into the journey if the surrogate isn't 100%.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you have to be 100%, and you all have to be 100% on the same page.
Yeah.
So when we heard that news, we said we kind of want to take a break a little bit.
We assumed there would be a big gap because, again, post-COVID and during COVID, we were kind of under the impression that a lot of people weren't pursuing surrogacy or volunteering to be a surrogate because of financial reasons or socioeconomic reasons.
Or they're having like longer time of matching. So it takes like months, I believe, during that time.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, well, let's reset. Let's plan a trip to kind of make us kind of focus on something that we can control.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things in surrogacy, we're out of.
We like to control a lot of stuff.
We can't really control a lot. It's out of our hands.
Journey and then just living in COVID times.
Yes.
It felt like nothing you could control at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But lucky enough, after 2 weeks.
It was less than a month.
Yeah. We got matched again.
Yeah.
Wow.
But this surrogate wasn't in Texas, but it was in Oklahoma. But the same laws kind of apply.
Very similar, yeah.
But we were like open to it since the laws during that time were kind of like unclear.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, Kristen Hinton, one of the owners of Simple Surrogacy, she does such a fantastic job. She did when this was all going on. It was all new when it was just Texas, first. Such a great job of explaining. Really, like, I forget. I think she's had like one abortion or something, and the whole, like, it just doesn't really happen in surrogacy journey, especially not for gay and queer men, because we use young egg donors and donors and fertile and young carriers who are proven, etc. So this stuff doesn't really happen for us, but still, you have to understand.
Yeah.
We actually had her come do webinars for us because I was so impressed with the way she presented all the information. I have a question here. So now let's talk about, so you implanted, I presume you have twins. Did you implant 2 embryos?
Yeah,
we did.
We did 2 embryos.
Question, you're both in the healthcare industry.
Yes.
So did that make it easier? You're not working within fertility, right?
No, we're
not directly.
no, we're anesthesia.
Okay. So, but were you, did you feel like, was it easier for you, or at least when it came to the medical components?
You'd be surprised. I feel like going into it, we're like, we know medical terminology, we know how the process of labor, and we know the process of pregnancy. But when you're in it and it's your children and your surrogacy journey, you'd be surprised at how much you're like, oh, that's common sense. Why didn't I think of that? Or
we should have known that.
Yeah.
Things like that. But no.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So now let's talk about a pregnancy. How was that? Were there any complications?
No complicate. Well, the first transfer we did not take.
Okay.
Everything seemed to be going well. She was like a first-time surrogate, and then the first one didn't take. No specific reason why.
Yeah, they couldn't figure out why.
But what they did was they did a DNC afterwards, just kind of
reset
everything,
uterine cavity, and kind of just start fresh. So that took a couple months to kind of restart the cycle and restart all that.
So that
additional costs as well.
Yes, additional costs. At that time, we were like, okay, we just kind of let it be. We're not changing anything. If we're on the back of our mind, we're also like counting how many embryos left we've had, because ideally we would want the kids to have the same egg donor. So we're also like thinking, should we ask for more eggs from the same egg donor, things like that, just to kind of plan ahead. But we kind of just decided to okay, let's just see what happens next. Since our surrogate was very positive about it, she felt like, okay, this is it, guys. Like
I think that was a pivotal part of it, because how amazing our surrogate was in this process is her energy. Even though we plan
as much
backup plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G of what possible routes things will go, and just kind of contingencies, and just having her reach out and just say, all right, guys, I feel ready. I feel, let's do this time. All the sticky vibes are going in, like. So I think her energy really helped kind of rejuvenate and keep us in a more positive mindset.
Because we were in like a year and a half in already, and we haven't really transferred anything. So it was kind of.
It was heartbreaking, even though we know statistically, even especially with a double transfer, you may not always get one or either. So we knew that it's a possibility, but it still didn't lessen kind of that impact that it had on us when they didn't take.
Sure. So for other people that might find themselves up against different challenges, other advice you have? How much did you rely on your family building partners? Others who've maybe gone through this? Curious.
So during that, we didn't really. Our plan was not to tell our family up until they knew about the surrogacy journey. They were like steps behind. Because we don't want to.
We had spoken to a couple people, especially that went through the journey with the agencies, and a piece of advice that kind of resonated with us was, tell your family they know you're going through the journey. You don't want to be alone in this, because you need that emotional support village and that core people around you. But our decision was, if we were in the legal process, we were kind of explaining to everybody, hey, we found a surrogate. So they were kind of steps behind the news, just in case something were to happen. We kind of had a moment to breathe before we had to explain everything. Because
Yeah.
I like that.
as much as we felt like friends and family would have great intentions, we didn't know if we were emotionally ready to kind of answer the questions in real time. We wanted time to kind of have a moment to for ourselves to process it.
I love that. That's really great advice. And I think you're the first people I've asked talked about this who gave us that. So thank you. All right. So now you started to talk about your relationship with the surrogate. She's obviously awesome. How did any advice or thoughts about establishing and managing a relationship, and what's your relationship with her like now?
I think it really depends on what you guys want and like what the it should be the same from the get go with a surrogate. Like, what kind of relationships do you guys want with each other? I think from the start we said we want to be involved as much as possible, and that's what she wanted also. But also we have that boundary that we're not gonna be calling her every day or
We don't want to feel we want to be involved, but we don't want to feel intrusive.
yes.
And I think that was kind of something we wanted to respect whatever boundaries our surrogate and her partner had. I think the great thing about Simple was the way they do their system is
Yes.
they only present people to us who have
Who
viewed our
picked us.
profile and picked us. So
Ready.
it eliminates that fear of, oh, we're going to get rejected. But it kind of also reinforces that their view, they see what we want and the involvement we want. So they know going into our first meetup
Yeah.
that would be on the table.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now let's talk about the most important thing that we haven't brought up yet. The twins. Tell us about them. When were they born?
They were
and how they
born August 4th. It was also a little bit of a story. We went in for our 36 week appointment, and then her blood pressure was a little bit elevated, so they had to kind of observe her, and then a couple of days later, they said that they would have to induce her.
We knew going into it that the goal was 38 weeks for the twins. That's just what the obstetrician wanted, and we were kind of all on the same page. But a couple of weeks before, we were fortunate where we were able to kind of take off the day and go to the appointment, and then come fly back that night, and then be there as much as we could. But I think going there, we had a feeling something like
Yeah.
a couple weeks, like hitting 37, 36, reading stories about twins, like making it that far before delivery was, we were already like feeling very grateful, but we knew things were kind of like close. So
Yeah. So when we were there, we were glad that we were already there. And then eventually, her water broke. But one of our twins was already head down, but the other one is breech.
Oh.
So what happened was, our first baby, Kaya, delivered beautifully, no issues. She was already pink and great. But they had a little bit of a hard time with our second baby, Kenzo. So they took a little bit of time to get him out because he was breech, and then they had to kind of help him out a little bit. So we had to go to NICU for a couple hours. So our idea of like being together right away didn't really happen. So he went with our baby Kaya, and then I had to go to NICU. So we kind of separated, and then we had to FaceTime our
our first visit, yeah,
meeting as a family.
which it kind of just threw in the fact that like even though things were going so perfect, even and you thought, okay, we're in the clear, still
Things
gotta
happen.
still gotta go with whatever the flow is, and we were really, I guess, strong in our communication and kind of, I guess, our relationship, because even in that hectic moment, we kind of knew what needed to be done, and we kind of just chose. We were there for our surrogate and there for our babies, and we knew that they were in the best hands at that point. It was just as scary as it was.
Yeah, as scary as it was, we knew that this is what we wanted, and that our family is complete and
The scariest moment of our lives, I think.
the happiest at the same time.
Yes, I totally get that. So, what are you guys sleeping?
We
I'm curious.
we are sleeping.
We're microdosing on
Yeah.
something, but we're sleeping.
We're a really good team. We would alternate each other, and then our babies are doing well in terms of sleeping. They would do 6 to 8 hours of stretches.
Kaya likes to sleep.
Our
Enzo's
girl-
about 5 hours,
Yeah.
but even that 4 or 5 hours, sometimes it's like gold. When that wasn't always the case, but recently they've been
And
like
then we
that.
have family in town that would come over, let us sleep,
Yeah.
do our errands, and things like that. So we have a village.
Great. So actually, I want to end by asking you sort of what's the best advice you received about bringing twins home before you brought them home?
Make sure that you, as a couple, were in sync. Because as much as we think, okay, we've been together this long,
Yeah.
nothing can really shake us. Like this is, we knew, like the advice that we got was things are not going to be the same. You're not going to have a control over everything. You won't have it this way, this way, this way as you normally do. So I think going into it, kind of like we invested time in ourselves leading up through the journey and the pregnancy, and kind of we made date nights out of like, okay, let's kind of unpack of how we're feeling this week with our.
We always check in with
Yeah.
each other.
That became our running joke. Like, okay, checking in. Even now, we're like, how are you feeling? What's going on? You may not like
At 3 a.m.
You may not like the answer, but it's opening, keeping that door of communication open, because I think that's the biggest
Yeah.
piece of advice that we have.
No, I agree.
I love that checking in now. Wow. That's awesome. Well, is there anything else that, I should have asked you that you want to share? Because we've kept you on way longer than I promised.
Oh, no, I
So
You're fine.
covered everything.
Yeah, that's everything. We just want to thank you and
Yeah, we want to thank the community really,
Yeah.
because it has inspired us and it has helped us throughout our journey. So that's why we're like, any little bit that we can help out.
pay forward.
Yeah, we want to
Wow.
make sure that we want to educate as much as possible and like tell our story that it's not always smooth sailing right away. There's different challenges, and our journey is not going to be the same as your journey. So there's multiple different ways it could go, but as long as you guys want it, and it'll happen for everybody in their own time.
Yeah.
Learn that you can't control everything, and
Even more so when you're actually parents. Trust me.
Yes, we're learning that.
yeah. But when
Um,
they nap at the same time, we feel like we're winning. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing everything. I appreciate your kind words. Did we tell you about our mentorship program?
No, I don't know.
We'll follow up with you because we'd love to have you. One last thing I want to say, I used to, before Gays with Kids, I had another job, a day job that actually paid me. And I had to go to Houston, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a year. And I
Really?
eat, which is one of my favorite snacks I miss so much, kolaches.
Kolache, yes.
So go get some kolaches and
Yes.
we'll have one for you.
all right, thank you so much, guys.
Thank
Great
you
to
so
see
much.
you.
Thank you.
Everyone watching, thanks so much for sticking around. Have a good night. Be safe, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.